Welcome to Fundraising is Funny. I'm Lynn Wester.
And I'm Clay Buck.
Join us to share in laughter and stories as we take a lighthearted look at the profession that we love so much, fundraising.
Because sometimes we just have to laugh at ourselves.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. Take a moment, take a listen. Hey, this could even be called self-care.
Bring your favorite beverage and a yummy snack.
In reality, we're here to deliver on our promise. We're going to make you laugh or cringe. And if you learn something too, bonus.
See, we're serious fundraisers. We believe in this work. But we also know we do some really ridiculous things, all in the name of raising a dollar. Maybe if we laugh at and with them and at ourselves, we can bring a little joy to everybody in our sector.
Now, don't worry. In that pursuit of joy, we won't name names, but the stories we share are 100% real life in the world of nonprofit fundraising.
Because, come on, fundraising is funny.
Hey, Clay.
Hello, Lynn.
Hello, listeners.
Hi, everybody.
We went out for dinner. We're here in Vegas recording and filming together, and we went out and we had the most fabulous dinner.
Seriously, one of the, that ranks in one of the top culinary experiences ever.
I have never been so excited about green beans.
And Brussels sprouts.
Green beans and Brussels sprouts and fish, like healthy things.
Yeah, it was good.
So let's talk about what happened that night.
Oh, God. See, I know what's coming, so I'm kind of wincing already because I know what's going on here.
Exactly. So we had the most amazing evening. We even had a banana pagoda that got smashed and miso caramel was poured over it.
It was, bonkers.
And so then we got the check, which I don't have a problem paying for dinner. We had a great time.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, you're welcome. Look at that. It's gratitude and stewardship.
It was so nice to be included. I appreciate it.
I was there with my colleagues and Clay and friends, and we just, so the bill came, which was not unexpected. They did a good job of having prices on the menus, as one does, right? But you're in Vegas, so you're having a little bit of a pricey meal. We were on the Strip at a new property, and we got the bill. And normally I don't look at the itemized much. Like, it's just not my jam. Sure. I pay the bill. I move on. We also had two phenomenal servers
They were amazing.
So my friends and I had some cocktails. Clay was driving us back to our hotel. So Clay abstained from cocktails.
I did. I'm a responsible young man.
He is a responsible young man. His mother would be proud. But Clay decided to be fancy and order a ginger ale.
I know, living on the edge.
I mean, ginger and ale. It seems alcoholic. It's not. It's good for your tummy.
I can't drink caffeine afternoon.
Well, I can't drink. I haven't had caffeine in 20 years. You all don't want me on caffeine.
And you don't want me not on caffeine.
Well, we make a good pair.
Coffee is,
Anyway. At sushi, I eat the ginger, you eat the wasabi. It's a perfect match. How are we not married? Oh, wait. I know how. Because his husband, Mike, would be upset. So we get the check. And Clay, in all audacity, has had multiple ginger ales. The audacity. I mean, how very dare you?
How very dare you?
And I look at the check and then I'm like, what is that? Like, we didn't order anything as affordable as $5. And there's three $5. And I'm like, then I look over.
I see her face.
And I'm like, what the what?
And I'm trying to crawl under the table at this point.
Y'all, they charged us for all three ginger ales. All three, $5 a pop. Now, it doesn't matter that my
That was a pun.
Oh, $5 a pop?
If you're from the Midwest.
If you're from the Midwest.
That was good. See,
now,
I'd say $5 a Coke, but
No, yep.
Okay.
So now, I, of course, had the audacity to order cocktails that were $23. So it wasn't the dollar amount, right? It wasn't that. And these ginger ales did not come over on a silver tray with fireworks in a glass bottle, like Diet Coke or Coke at fancy hotels sometimes. And you expect to pay a per eaches.
It wasn't even one of the small little fancy bottles of Schweppes.
Or
which is like a snack.
The fever trees, those are now the hip We weren't even that cool.
Yeah.
It was Gingerale over ice.
It came out of the fountain thingy.
The thing, the shooter thingy. Oops, probably shouldn't say that now. Oops. Yep. See, and I told him not to say fountain gun, but here we are. Here we are. Just tripping over ourselves. It's like getting yogurt on your shirt first thing in the morning.
That also might be a true story. Okay, we are digressing.
So $5 a pop.
A pop.
For his sody pop.
Yep.
And again, we are blessed. We are very fortunate. We are privileged. We work hard, though.
We do.
And I don't mind paying for a great night out. I was a little unexpected at the girth of the expense for his sody pop. Not the $5, but there were 3. And I looked at him directly across the table and I went,
yep.
You owe me $15.
Yep.
You owe me $15, Clay. I don't have the $15. I haven't gotten a Venmo. I haven't gotten a check. I haven't gotten a credit card. You can swipe right here on me, like it's right on my face. I take all forms of payment. But then I also thought about, well, now Clay drove us to the hotel and drove us home. And, am I going to start keeping tabs on how much you owe versus what our friendship's worth versus what are the giggles that I get out of it? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if we wanted to, right? If we really wanted to go down that road, I could look up what it would cost for an Uber to take you from where we were back to your hotel.
Oh, that was $43. And I know because we went there.
See, there you go. Because I could come back and go, well, you paid $15 for my ginger ale. I drove you back to your hotel. So actually, you owe me like $28.
No, I don't. First of all, because the laughter and hilarity, you could have gone to see a comedy show, which is like $95 to $165, sure. Or you could have dinner with me.
But I contributed to that comedy because I was on point that night. Y'all were under the 3 sheets to the wind there on your cocktails. Here's me completely sober on my ginger ale, and I was funny and entertaining and engaging.
I get the hint that you feel like you were babysitting us, which also would be a fee if I had to pay for a babysitter for the 3 of us.
Here's the thing. And to be perfectly honest, Lynn and I have talked about this $15 now for 3 or 4 days because we're both just having this reaction to it. And my reaction to it is at no point through that meal did anybody say to me that, hey, just so you know, you don't get free refills here.
And again, we had amazing servers. We don't blame them. I would never.
Not even slightly. The whole experience was top notch.
And I would never, I happily spent the $15. I would never go get a manager and be like, nobody told me this, so please take $10 off. That's ridiculous.
Right. Now, if it had been a worse experience, if the food hadn't been good,
oh, honey,
that $15
would have just been insult.
But an issue. But the question that I have is, how often do we look at wonderful experiences and judge them or manage them or in some way make them negative by focusing on the minor little transactional detail that threw us off that wasn't communicated?
I have an example.
Tell me.
Okay. So I hear a lot from nonprofits. Lynn, you believe that a receipt and an acknowledgement are separate things, and you believe that we should be thanking donors multiple times before we ask them for money again. And I am like, yes, duh, because we want them to have, you know what I mean, like good experiences. Why do we then have ticky-tack arguments over, but wait, that would be another stamp? So you're not willing to spend the 50 cents or the forever cents in order to keep the donor. So am I willing to spend $15? Actually 10, because 5 seems normal, right? But am I not willing to spend the $15 to keep you as a friend? Not that it's a deal breaker. I mean, it might be on a Tuesday, but so why do we look at our relationships in nonprofit land in such why are we keeping score? Why are we counting? Why are we looking at donors and going, and I understand ROI.
Sure.
But also look at it from the restaurant's end. So if I'm a restaurant and I have a tab that's coming to hundreds and hundreds of dollars, do I not look at that and say, it's stupid for me to charge that $10 and get less than 2% of the tab when I could just waive that and then they could go on and have a great night and it not be so ticky-tack.
It's kind of penny wise, pound foolish.
Oh, that saying.
Right? Now, I'm not going to go back to that restaurant because the restaurant was so good. Right? I am not going to back because the service was so good. So the overall experience in this case was phenomenal. The question is, when does that nitty gritty nickel and diming, kind of transactional focus outweigh the positive experience?
Absolutely.
Because if that meal had not been great, if the service had been poor, you better believe we would be sitting here talking about, I'm not going back because of that $15 for ginger ale.
Even though that's not the point.
That's not the point. Right.
That's not the point at all.
You see something like that and you just go, you're just being greedy at this point. Your markup on that is several $1,000%. Like that glass of ginger ale cost them 36 cents, maybe.
Oh, right? Maybe not even. So like a comparison example. So you know how like at McDonald's, every drink's $1? Right. Because Coca-Cola gives them all the syrup. Right. For all their drinks for free. They pay nothing for it. Sure. So they can discount sody pop. Because some of those people need their Diet Coke from McDonald's because apparently it's got a special formulation and the crack sugar stuff goes straight to your brain and you're like, nah! Coca-Cola from McDonald's hits different, as people say.
I'm just going to take your word on that.
It's like Chick-fil-A iced tea, right? It hits different. Right. So anywho, all that to say, it's not a money-making thing. It's a decision.
So how does this circle back to fundraising?
Well, it's a decision. And here's the other thing. That $10 now could have put me off from spending hundreds and thousands of dollars later.
Exactly.
So you're saving a stamp can put me off from hundreds of thousands of dollars or hundreds and thousands of dollars of donations in the future.
And trust me, I have been in the position where the budget just did not allow for stamps this year. I get it. I've lived it.
I get it.
But I also kind of think of things like, we're going to harp on thank you letters, I suppose, for a bit. But I think of things like, we don't have the time or the resources to send out both an acknowledgement and a thank you. Mm-hmm. But how much time did your development associate spend running around town picking up silent auction items?
Yeah, it's the balance. And again, it's not about it's the principle of the thing, but it's also looking long-term, sustainable fundraising. Right. And in order to sustain myself, I have to get a cough drop and a snack, Clay. So can we come back?
I think we'd better.
So before we left to get schnacks, also, by the way, we eat the schnacks at Clay's house, and he does not send me an invoice for those schnacks. So another way he quickly pays off his ginger ale debt, which, if you know anything about us as friends, will come up for the next 6 to 12 years. And perhaps on my deathbed.
And you're joking. And,
of course I am.
We're talking about this in love, but going back to what we're talking about, I think so often we spend a lot of time keeping score.
Ooh.
Right? And it goes to everything. Retention rates, upgrades, downgrades, how donors are interplaying with us. Well, they gave us $10,000 last year, but this year they downgraded it and they only gave us $1,500.
And donors are not keeping score with nonprofits.
No,
but they do notice behavior.
Nobody told me that my gift was expected to be renewed next year.
Oh, that's a good one.
You told me you had this urgent issue now. I
solved the urgent issue.
And now you're coming back at me going...
Saying you haven't renewed your membership or you haven't made your annual gift.
What do you mean renewed my gift? I didn't know anything about renewing my gift, right?
It's so true. It's so... Well, and what's interesting about that too is that would also be like a restaurant saying, well, I can give you a refill, but I'm going to need your $5 now.
Oh, yeah.
Like pay up front. We don't trust you with this ginger ale, Clay.
Yeah, right.
And what really they shouldn't do is trust me with the vodka Pocatini or whatever I had the other night. Is they let me order a $23 drink for free, quote unquote, without a deposit.
Okay, but that's a really interesting, and you don't know that I'm going to say this because we didn't talk about this in the prep, but right? They had absolutely no qualms bringing you a $23 whatever.
They had a lot of qualms. They were like, how many do you want?
Foofy thing that had a whole leaf in it.
Yeah, that was Angie's. Mine had an egg white foam on the top.
Right. No problems at that. Expectations clearly laid out.
Yep.
But the guy who was sitting there ordering ginger ale.
Naughty boy.
Nobody said, hey, this is, you don't get free refills here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, and on the cocktail menu, there was not ginger ale $5 or sodi pop $5.
Correct. They valued you and your $23 cocktail.
Who doesn't?
Far more than they valued me. And they nickel and dimed me on a transaction. Well, but you see what I'm saying.
Did you also split a side with someone? And, those are the friends we don't keep anymore.
Where's that $25 donor, that $50 donor, that $250 donor going?
Oh my gosh, look at you with meaningful comparisons.
Right.
And I'm just trying to think about those friends I got rid of who, when they do eat out in a group, are like, no, I only had this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, I had 6 bottles of wine, so we're splitting it.
I do put my foot down on that, but that's another story and one we can have offline. Right? But we're out there going, look, here's the big check picture with the $10,000 donor and the thing that they did that one time.
Yes.
And there's Aunt Mary Sue with her annual $150 contribution that nobody's ever told her that she's expected to give every year. Nobody's ever told her that we looked back at the data. And this is a true story. We look back at the data, and Mary Sue, you've been giving for 15 years. Oh,
at $150 a year, which is proportionally a far larger sacrifice. So that would be like, Clay, proportionally that $5 ginger ale is a larger proportion of your income than the $23 frou-frou cocktail is of mine, because I'm a baller.
Right. So
which is hilarious.
Who's that restaurant going to cater to? They're going to follow up. They're going to build the association with the person that spent the most money at dinner without realizing that there was somebody sitting there ordering $5 ginger ales who was having the experience of a lifetime.
So also another Vegas comparison.
Oh, yeah.
So every now and again, I get the gumption to go play a table game. Normally I'm a penny slot girl. I sit there, I pop pigs, we make Willy Wonka dance, the Wonka-vator. We do, I'm not. You
gotta tickle the pigs.
Right, you gotta tickle the pigs. I'm not a gambler, but I enjoy gambling. And then every now and again, as my dad would say, I get a wild hair. I don't know what that really means, but I get a wild hair.
Oh, I do.
And I go sit down and sit at a gambling table and play blackjack because I like math.
Okay, I know this story
too. And when I sit there and play $15 a hand, which for me is a wonking hop of money unless it's on ginger ale, and then it's like, a mortgage. The drinks come fast and furious if you want them. You can get Fiji water, you can get top brand alcohol, you can get all of the things. And the ladies come by and they're like, they don't have male servstresses, which I think is bad. But anyway, the ladies come by and they're so nice. And, I'm paying the minimum. And then there's the guy next to me and he's putting out $1,000 a hand. Mm-hmm. And I'm putting out $15 a hand. And when I tip $5 every time for my drinks, no matter, it's not free drinks. Those girls work hard for a living. Mm-hmm. And he looks at her and goes, yeah, thanks. And I'll have another. Mm-hmm. So if casinos treated me like my little slot self, my little $15 self, like we treat donors, then she would have fawned all over him and gotten nothing based on the size and the colors of our chips. And she ignored me. She would have ignored me and gotten a big tip because I'm a big tipper.
Have I told you about consistent but not consecutive?
Tell me more.
So I've been doing this analysis with every single campaign that I've been working on over the last, 3 or 4 years, right? And it's what we call consistent but not consecutive. And when we look back at least 5 years of giving, I'd like more. 10 years would be great.
Well,
and we start to isolate donors who have given repeatedly over multiple years during that time range. So in other words, in year 1, they make their very first gift to us. And then in year 2, they give 2 gifts to us, or they, attend an event or something like that. And then they don't give for a year, and then they don't give for 18 months. And then they come back in year 4. And then in year 5, they give like $5. And then they take 2 years off, right?
So it's like me visiting Vegas. Sometimes I gamble a lot. Sometimes I work a lot. Sometimes I'm scared.
Look at them as they are either current, lapsed, libunt, or sibunt.
Yeah, no.
Don't look at them.
We don't have a bucket for them.
We don't have a bucket of
We don't have a bucket of good tippers.
Because I guarantee We don't have a bucket of good tip. We don't have a bucket of ginger ale drinkers, because I guarantee you they are out there going, well, of course I support ravaging wombats.
Of course
Absolutely I do. They're walking around thinking of themselves as, right? I am walking around thinking of myself as the kind of person that goes to fancy restaurants on the Strip.
Oh, well, yeah.
Did you hear what I just said? I said the Strip.
The Strip.
Lord,
the Strip.
The Strip.
Well, and it's funny because I said to you, sometimes I gamble, sometimes I don't, you know. So I always eat. Like Vegas is eating town.
Sure.
Me and Clay always eat well, you know, when I come visit him. But so we're consistent on
Quinoa,
that.
kale.
Yeah.
It's all
for Barbara. Kale for Barbara. We love you, Barbara. But also, it's an interesting thing because once I do tip them well, I get whatever. Like the girls are like, hi, you need anything? Is everything going okay? Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like they are very attentive, which I love. And I think that's nice. But they don't know that in my heart, the reason I'm tipping them well is because I see other people.
Sure.
To me, it's A, I know service industry well. And B, they are working hard. And they also have more of the person down the street with the thousands, down the table with the thousands, not tipping them than they have little old me, penny slot me.
Well, sure. But and that's what donors are saying. I know that this organization that I care about, this mission that I care about, that is out there doing good work.
Yes.
And when it enters my consciousness, when I remember to, when I think about myself in that context, I want to
be generous.
I'm going to
give. I want to be identified as generous.
Correct. And they're out there walking around thinking of themselves that way, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting at a restaurant thinking of myself as a fancy diner. And then you come back at me with $5 of ginger ale. And I'm like, you just shattered my image of myself.
You had shattered my image of myself.
Me in a transactional mode.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's the punchline here?
What is the punchline here?
Well, number one, I think that we have to stop keeping score.
That's it.
There's a difference between ROI and ROE, return on investment, return on engagement, and not understanding long-term sustainable relationships. So I work a lot in academia, and we have 40 to 60 year relationships with our donors from the time they apply until they die, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, if I'm petty with you up front and I say your gift isn't good enough, or if I am like, oh, thanks to $25 donors, and I'm like, oh gosh, to, $1,000 donors, then you're never going to get my $1,000.
Right.
I don't aspire to be fawned over, but I do aspire to have basic human decency.
I think, me, I'm a metrics and a numbers person. Right. And I don't think we measure enough in terms of, the right measurements in terms of how we are.
I would agree.
Engaging donors, et cetera. That said, we're keeping score by putting donors in buckets and demanding behavior, that
we didn't tell them about. Again, demanding behavior without setting expectations. If they had said to us, hey, we just want to let you know our ginger ale comes from the heavens and is made by the most precious ginger on earth, squeezed by hand.
Literally ginger from Gilligan's Island is back in the kitchen.
Right. Squishing ginger into a gold-plated cup with ice from the Himalayas.
Yes.
That had, Well,
in this case, I would have gone, okay, this is way not environmentally sustainable, so please let's stop.
But also,
ginger's dead. But anyway,
and then they said, and it would be $5 a pop. Clay would have probably been like, I might have 2, not 3. Or he would have looked at me and been like, Mommy, can I have another?
Absolutely.
Which would have been hilarious.
If I ever call you, if anyone listening ever hears me call in Mommy, please.
Yeah, no.
It means I need help. But anyway.
Anywho.
Right, I would have either made a different decision or I would have made the same decision.
Informed.
Exactly.
And this is hilarious because in all reality, we've been giggling about this for 3 days because in all reality, it's such a little blip, but it has such a great, we hope it made you laugh, and also when I did at one point when Clay was driving us home, I said, where did this ginger ale come from? Right. But I have no problem paying $23 for an egg white, some lime juice, and some vodka. Which is mashed potatoes.
We've covered the punchline, right?
Yeah.
Stop keeping score. Let's look at how we keep score, move from transactional into transformational. But I do think, I don't want to leave here without saying that understanding that a lot of this is scalable.
Yes.
I get it. Listen, I get it. I live it. I breathe it. I have experienced it. There are things that your shop isn't big enough, your resources aren't large enough, your budget isn't big enough that you can't do. The point is, what you can do and you are invested in, do well and
absolutely
clearly and communicative. Listen, I hear this all the time. Direct mail can't scale. You can't scale relationships through, direct mail or digital. That's wrong. That's a whole other discussion. You absolutely totally can. The question is, can you invest in being clear and upfront and having real conversations and being kind?
Yeah.
And stop keeping score in what did they do for us?
Absolutely. Love that. And what have y'all done for us lately? Tell us your stories of unexpected, things, or how people, you know what I mean?
I would love to hear more stories about, real life things that happened that made you think of something in front of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're here for you. We want to hear about it. And again,
feel free to pop in. Are you pop? Are you soda? Are you Coke?
Or do you want to share a beverage with us? Are you caffeine, no caffeine?
I can't get cheer wine out here where I live. So I'm just saying to all my friends in North Carolina, should that ever
You
happen.
can get it on Amazon if you try hard. But the shipping on it is ridiculous because it's so heavy.
Anyway, that said.
We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. And now we're going to go share a ginger ale.